I'm here with Sarah Levin, founder and principal of Secular Strategies, and she does incredible work on making a space for people in this country who are not believers of any religion and protecting the separation between church and state. Did I get that correctly?
That's absolutely right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your organization and what went into founding it and what you all do?
Absolutely. So I started out as a member of the Secular Student Alliance at American University, and at the time I was really connecting church-state separation to reproductive rights and LGBTQ rights. But when I became an intern at the Secular Coalition, I learned about just how deep this goes, how it's related to military policy, tax policy, much broader issues in healthcare beyond reproductive rights, and just how deep we've gotten into religious exemptions from laws that apply to everybody else, but not to religious organizations, and the degree to which taxpayer funding is just being raided and redirected to private religious schools, to faith-based social services that then discriminate on the basis of religion. And so when I realized how much of a root cause separation of church and state was, and how it intersects with white supremacy as well, I decided to commit my whole life to this movement. So after working my way up and getting involved in as their chief lobbyist and working their grassroots programs, I then went out and started Secular Strategies, and now I'm serving clients across the spectrum, from Jews for Secular Democracy to Secular Dems of America to Center for Free Thought Equality, and really tackling from educating the public about white Christian nationalism and why separation of church and state is important, to getting in the electoral sphere, making sure that secular Dems have a voice, to just lobbying and advocacy on behalf of the organizations doing the work. So that's how I got involved.
That's really inspiring, and thank you for doing this, by the way, because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and it's not having nearly enough. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just like a third rail of progressive organizing, or because with the fight we're having with choice, like you're saying, with public schools and protecting public schools, it's ubiquitous, and yet it's something that isn't really being discussed.
It's probably the single biggest thing that frustrates me to no end, that even in spaces like this, we're not all talking about white Christian nationalism. There was one talk today, and I was really glad to see it, but I think that talk it was about white Christian nationalism, should have been on the main stage, or should have been, had way more attention. And I think there's a few reasons. I don't know why, but I do know that there's just a hesitancy to talk about religion and faith in progressive circles. And I'm not sure if it's because people just aren't interested, or they don't see how it's related, or they're afraid to offend. I think there is a level to which people are afraid to offend. But that's really to the detriment of the religious minorities who are impacted by white Christian nationalism and, of course, all of our issues. So I call secularism the intersectionality that's not cool yet. I'm really hoping that there's going to come a point soon, especially after January 6th, and how Christian nationalism was all over the place there, all of the imagery there, with Roe v. Wade and multiple Supreme Court cases eroding separation of church and state. I'm hoping that in progressive circles we'll start seeing more of the conversation, but I'm just trying to bring it up in every space I can.
Thank you, and I thank you for doing this work. And how can people get involved? Because it's so important. No matter what your issue is, this country in its idealized form is one in which religion is not the thing dictating politics. And yet it's becoming an extremist religious nation more and more. So how can people support your work?
That's a great question, and there's a lot of things you can do. The first thing you got to do is educate yourself and have conversations in your everyday life and in your organizations about white Christian nationalism and what it is and how it's manifesting. Look up Project Blitz. Learn about that. That's a project by the religious right that's basically shopping around legislation, blitzing the legislatures in stages. They started with In God We Trust bills, right? Which even we had Democrats supporting, right? Because it's like, oh, it's harmless. What's wrong with making it mandatory to put In God We Trust in the schools? But that's stage one. What they're getting to in stage 3 is the broadest possible license to discriminate and the broadest possible religious exemptions from our laws, right? So just educating yourself about it is step one. In the electoral sphere, I really encourage folks who are involved in the Democratic Party to get involved in Secular Democrats of America. We have caucuses in Texas, Nebraska, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Florida. And they're doing a few things. One, they're creating the base of donors and organizers who are going to support candidates who are going to run as openly non-religious, because we're severely underrepresented in government, and of course stand for secular values. And they also support faith allies who are going to stand with the secular community and talk about separation of church and state. They're also pushing the party from the inside to adopt planks in the platform that address these issues and being more inclusive of non-religious voters and non-religious members of the party. That's really important. I mean, I've got folks in the Nebraska Secular Caucus who say they have members who didn't join the Democratic Party until they saw there was a secular caucus because they didn't feel welcome. They didn't feel included. The state party and I think they may still be doing it, but they're, through conversation, dialogue, changing this. We're opening party meetings with prayer. And so getting involved and starting a group of like-minded folks and faith allies to talk about these issues within the party is a really great way to get involved. There's also a lot of great organizations doing advocacy and lobbying on church-state separation. So you've got American Atheists is a really good example. They're doing a lot of state legislative work, which is so important right now. And if you're an elected official listening to this, definitely check out the Association of Secular Elected Officials. And if you're a candidate, not only can you seek out Secular Dems for support and endorsements, there's also the Center for Free Thought Equality. You can become a member for free, sign up for their email list, and get notifications of all the elected officials running as openly secular. But if you're a candidate, you can win that endorsement as well.
That's amazing. I feel very hopeful right now, so thank you. Religion is not doing all the best things at the moment, not all religion anyway, and regardless, you could have the best faith with the best people and no problematic things, and regardless, this is a secular democracy. There is supposed to be a wall between the spiritual world and the political one. So thank you so much, Sarah. What is your Twitter handle? How can people connect with you?
My Twitter handle is at Sarah, SARAHM Levin, and I will also plug OnlySky Media, which is the only independent media platform exploring the whole human experience and church-state separation issues through a secular lens. So that's onlysky.media. That's a great way to kind of learn more about the issues and the secular perspective as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah.